I know I've been a little lacking on the updates lately. I apologize for that, but I've been incredibly busy, which does mean that there is some great footage for me to get to you in this episode. This thing's getting gas, it's getting fuel, it's getting spark, it's getting oil, it's getting everything it needs to start. And on top of that, I'm getting everything I need to be able to fly it, including heading out and doing some transition training, which is part of the reason why I wasn't able to get an update out in time. So without further delay, let's launch into another episode.
It's time to get some fuel in the tanks and do some different calibration. I got gas. Some measurements. I want to know how much fuel the tanks hold. I need to know how much fuel can't be drained from the tanks. I need to know how much fuel can't be used from the tanks. I need to know when my tank senders start reading that there's fuel in the tanks and when they stop and how much fuel I have left. To do all this, we've got to do some very freshman level science here by filling and draining and filling and draining and taking measurements. I'm actually kind of excited about it. All right, so next up is to see how much unusable fuel is in there. How much fuel can we suck out of the tank using the fuel pickup until I start sucking air? Because I don't want to turn on my pump quite yet, I'm going to use this siphon pump here and we'll just pump it straight back into the tank. To the jug, I should say. I'm really winding up with a basically negligible amount of undrainable and unusable fuel, maybe a couple ounces in both instances. I will save that data for my operating handbook because I think it'll be listed there. But overall, it's really nothing that's going to be measurable with respect to the airplane, meaning it's not enough to float my fuel sender in any meaningful way. Speaking of which, I am now going to start adding a gallon at a time, trying to do just that, float my fuel sender. Oh, and for you safety nerds out there, I do have a fire extinguisher on hand for all this. I have spilled little bits of gasoline here and there, which I've wiped up and I'm keeping on a rag outside in the dry weeds. Fuel tank calibration is straightforward and at the same time riddled with little pitfalls that can create errors in your curves, and I think I found every single one of them. It includes a lot of filling tanks and not liking what you're doing and draining and starting over. The good news here, my tanks made it all night and I didn't come into a puddle of fuel on the ground. That's great news. The bad news is that I left last night not really liking how my fuel curves were working out. It didn't follow any pattern. There's humps, which I don't feel like these curves should have humps. So I'm gonna drain all the fuel out of the tanks and try it again. So not great. On the way out with the fuel, I was getting weird readings, and then I'd have to like tap on the tank. It's like the float is sticking. I don't know if it's 2 years of just sitting around, but I'm gonna erase my calibration points and see what I can do to try again. I know some of you are probably thinking, Ryan, you've totally jumped the gun on fuel tank calibration. You gotta do weight and balance, and for that you want empty tanks. And yes, while this is true, I got nothing. That's true. I want empty tanks while I do my weight and balance. I need to do a fuel flow test and the timing is perfect right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything sort of second checked, torque checked as far as the fuel system. And then I'm gonna go ahead and flip on my boost pump and pull some fuel from each tank, draining it out of the system, and at the same time accomplishing my fuel flow check. I just need to do it for a timed amount of time, might be 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and then I can weigh that and see how many gallons per hour I'm pulling. I forgot to start my watch. Come on, Ryan. All right, so we did the weigh-in. The results are in. 5.5 pounds of gas over the course of a minute, 11 over 2 minutes. It's actually what we did. 0.91 gallons per minute, 55 gallons per hour. I love that, and I'll tell you why. My avionics said 55 gallons per hour. Things are working. I gotta do some initial fuel tank calibration on the right-hand side, then we will put some fuel in there in order to also pull from that end. Again, making sure there's no leaks and that everything is flowing smoothly. If we get the same fantastic results, then we can check off one of the first pre-flight checks needed to get this thing started. I am just gearing up to spend some quality time balled up in the back of this thing. Probably one of the last times. If I do it right, it will be the last time, so definitely not the last time. I'm sort of stuck. I have this back and forth I need to do. I need to get all the interior panels in for weight and balance. At the same time, those all have to come out for airworthiness. And while these things are sort of off in the distance, there's really no need for me to have all of these panels in there as I finish up the plane. That said, it's got to be done, so I'm sort of just temporarily mocking them up, putting them in place so that they have the accurate weight, but then they can be pulled out with relative ease. I'll be doing the same with my interior, which was recently picked up. I'm very excited about it. It's one of the last big items to add to this, and it's one of the most exciting because we're really starting to get into the final look and feel of the plane. I went with Classic Aero. They're just down the road here in Oregon. I've been working with them for, I think, about the past 9 months. Now, a lot of that delay is because of me and my indecision on colors and patterns. They've been extremely patient. I went a couple days ago down to Albany to pick it up, and to say that I was impressed with the final product is an understatement. I'm actually blown away at how finished this looks. I have not been this excited about any facet of the build for quite some time, perhaps since I unboxed the engine. I'm going to get more into the entire process of working with Classic Aero and the actual installation of the interior in a future episode. For this one, we're simply going to kind of put the pieces in place so that I get, once again, an accurate weight when I put this thing on the scales. I'm really resisting the urge to dig too deep into this kit. I really just want to get most of the pieces in there from a weight standpoint. That said, the kit is beautiful. It comes wonderfully packaged. There's laser cut templates, there's robust instructions, parts kits, tools. It really has surprised me as how complete all of this is. Now, I know there's going to be some questions about my chosen color scheme and what that means for the exterior of the plane and how I came up with it. I don't have a lot to offer. For some reason, all through this build, as I thought about what colors this would be, one color just kept coming to mind, and I really don't know why, but here we are. All right, all jokes aside, it's not Ryobi green. I mean, it is, I guess, but it isn't. I had a whole different other scheme in mind, and it'll come together when you see the paint. But, you know, for now, I guess I'm just gonna lean into it. So 1,132 pounds. Honestly, that's nearly exactly what I expected. I figured I was between 1,100 and 1,150. We just about split the difference. Primer adds a little. That stack of avionics is surprisingly heavy. So I knew I'd be over 1,100 pounds, and 1,132, not too bad. That leaves me with 668 pounds useful load. I believe once we put full tanks in it, that leaves you with somewhere around 416 pounds, persons and cargo. That means that realistically I could still fit myself, a passenger, and 100 pounds of cargo, not break my gross weight. Now, that is not all weight and balance, that is weight. I still have to do balance. If this thing winds up tail heavy for some reason, I might have to limit my baggage, for example. And then there's paint to think about. Paint will be the last thing. Paint, wheel pants, and fairings, which is gonna add a decent amount of weight. I don't quite know how much, but I imagine at least 50 pounds. That does mean that we might not have enough for full tanks, full baggage, 2 people, once this thing is 100% complete. Definitely some more work to do here, some noodling and some calculations, but the heavy lifting, quite literally, of weight and balance is behind me. I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to go nerd out with a calculator and do some research and call this one done for the day. In a recent visit with my tech counselor, it was noted that my labels for my engine controls were not sufficient for airworthiness and that I would need added indication of what would happen when you pushed or pulled on each control. Now, this originally broke my heart because I had no idea how I was going to revise this area of the panel without significant work. The idea was then floated to add some labels to the inside of each knob, and I loved it. It was inevasive. I could make it look like it wasn't an afterthought. And so I went and I had some custom labels made, which I then added some UV doming fluid to, cured that, and added it to the inside of each label. I really love how it came out. It's early and it smells like cows. Alright, I know there's at least one of you that's going to be very relieved I was able to get the majority of the tape off without issue. I know that a few people have written in about concerns that I wouldn't be able to get that off, and rightfully so. It's been on there far longer than I expected and endured some fairly large temperature swings. There are some areas that are going to take just a little bit of adhesive remover, being careful, of course, to make sure it's not going to damage the plastic. And I'll get that cleaned up in a moment. But right now, what I'm really focused on is basically going around the plane and final torquing anything that I haven't final torqued, doing a final check, mainly on fluid lines, oil, fuel. It's not going to be long here before I go ahead and look at starting this thing up. A lot of wrenching on things, a lot of final wire runs, mainly the spark cables, a lot of safety wire, which is inherently a very unsafe thing to do. I've stabbed myself like 8 times and bled all over the place. We're just about there. All right, I feel like this requires a whole lot of explanation. So what are we doing here? Well, I'm cranking over the engine without the top plugs in to help build oil pressure before we actually go to start it. But what we're also doing here is making some huge mistakes. That there is fuel leaking. And why? Well, back in here, I don't have the mixture at idle cutoff, and I actually have my fuel turned on. Two huge oversights that allowed some fuel to get into the engine before I wanted it to, except it didn't even make it to the engine because it leaked from a fitting that wasn't fully torqued down. Whoa.
So I'm going to start it. Keep an eye on cylinder head temp, look at oil pressure, oil temp, and realistically probably just keep it at 1100 RPM. If you see something, give it the